The station floated in the dark between stars. Axiom Prime was its name. It was not owned by any single world or species. Here, thousands of different beings could meet in peace. The station was huge, bigger than most moons. Its halls stretched for miles. Its domes held artificial skies of 100 different colors. Today was special. Today, the Galactic Conclave gathered for a ceremony that happened only once every 1,000 years. Representatives from 10,000 civilizations had come. They filled the great chamber, a space so vast that its ceiling disappeared into artificial clouds. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood in the human delegation area. She wore a simple blue uniform with Earth's symbol on her chest. Her hands were sweating. She wiped them on her pants for the 5th time in 10 minutes. Next to her, Dr. Amari Okonkwo leaned close. He was a quantum linguist. His job was to study how alien languages worked at the deepest level. He whispered to Chen, his voice tight with worry. "You do not have to do this. We could refuse. We could leave the conclave." Chen shook her head. Her dark hair was pulled back tight. Her face showed determination. She had spent 20 years working to bring humanity into the galactic community. She would not throw that away now. If we refuse, we lose everything. Trade, technology, alliance. We would be alone again. The ceremony had already begun. One by one, species came forward to speak their homeworld's true name. Not the common name everyone used, but the ancient name that existed in quantum space. A name that told the universe what that world truly was. The Zafrani delegate stepped up to the speaking stone. She was tall and thin, her skin pale blue like morning sky. She opened her mouth and sang a single note. The sound seemed to come from everywhere at once. It moved through the chamber like wind through leaves. The translation appeared in everyone's mind at the same time. Whisper of endless wind. As the name echoed, a gentle breeze began to blow through the sealed chamber. It touched every face. It smelled of open plains and distant storms. The crowd made sounds of appreciation. This was normal. This was good. A true name should show what a world was. The Zafrani came from a planet of eternal winds. Their name fit perfectly. Next came the Chromath. He was massive, his body covered in red stone-like scales. Heat radiated from him. He spoke his true name in a voice like grinding rocks. The translation came through. Forged beneath 7 suns. The temperature in the chamber rose. Some beings stepped back from the sudden heat. Others smiled. The Chromath lived on a world with multiple stars. They worked metal like artists worked paint. Their name made sense. This continued for hours. Each species spoke. Each true name revealed something essential. Some names were beautiful. Some were harsh. But all of them fit. All of them made the crowd nod in understanding. Then it was humanity's turn. Chen felt every eye in the chamber turn toward her. 10,000 species watching, waiting. She walked forward on legs that felt like water. The speaking stone stood in the center of the chamber. It was old, older than most civilizations present. It had heard true names for millions of years. Chen placed her hand on the stone. It was cool and smooth. She took a deep breath. Human scientists had only discovered Earth's true name 3 months ago. It had been hidden in the planet's magnetic field, encoded in frequencies that humans had been too primitive to detect until recently. When they decoded it, the lead scientist had cried. Another had vomited. A third had requested immediate psychiatric care. The government had classified it as top secret, but the conclave demanded it. Refusing meant exile from the galactic community. Chen opened her mouth. She spoke the name. It came out as a series of sounds no human throat should be able to make. The speaking stone amplified it. It sent the vibrations through quantum space. The translation appeared in every mind simultaneously. Cradle that birthed the enders. For 3 heartbeats, nothing happened. The chamber was silent. Then chaos erupted. Beings jumped to their feet. Screams filled the air. Energy beings flickered and dimmed. The eldest ones, creatures who had existed for millions of years, physically pulled away from the human delegation. Alarms began to sound. Security forces rushed forward. Chen stood frozen at the speaking stone, her hand still touching its cool surface. She did not understand. What had gone wrong? A voice boomed across the chamber. It belonged to Krethak, the head of the Xenohistorical Society. He was ancient even by galactic standards. His species had been spacefaring when Earth's continents were still forming. Seal the chamber, No one leaves until we decide what to do. The massive doors of the great chamber slammed shut. Force fields activated. Chen found herself surrounded by angry faces, tentacles, energy fields, beings she could not even properly see with human eyes. All of them were afraid. All of them were staring at her. Dr. Okonkwo pushed through the crowd to reach her. He grabbed her arm and pulled her back toward the human delegation. His face was pale. "Sarah, we need to leave. Now." Before he could finish, Krethak appeared in front of them. He moved faster than something his size should be able to move. His 6 eyes focused on Chen. When he spoke, his voice was quiet. That made it more frightening than if he had shouted. "Do you know what you have done? Do you understand what your world's true name means?" Chen tried to speak. Her voice came out as a whisper. "No, we only discovered it 3 months ago." "Please explain." Krethak cut her off. "The Enders. We have not spoken that word in 78 million years. We hoped never to speak it again, and now you stand here telling us that your world is their cradle, their birthplace, the place where they come from." The chamber erupted in noise again. Chen stood in the middle of it, understanding nothing, while the galaxy screamed in terror at a name she did not even understand. The great chamber had never seen panic like this. For millions of years, the conclave had met in peace. Now that peace was shattered, security forces tried to maintain order, but even they looked afraid. Energy barriers flickered into place around the human delegation. Chen found herself in a cage of light. Krethak raised one of his massive arms. Slowly the noise died down. When he spoke, his voice carried through the entire chamber without need for amplification. His species had evolved on a world where communication meant survival. His words could not be ignored. "We must speak of the Enders. I know most of you have forgotten. Your civilizations are young, a few million years old at most. But some of us remember. Some of us were there when they last came." One of the eldest ones floated forward. It had no solid form. It was pure energy contained in a shimmer of light. When it spoke, everyone felt the words as vibrations in their bones. The Vryn. They were the last Enders. 78 million years ago, they emerged from their homeworld. At first, we thought they were just another spacefaring species. We were wrong. The eldest one pulsed with colors that had no names in human language. Chen watched, still not understanding. Dr. Okonkwo stood beside her, his face getting paler with each word. Within 10,000 years, everything changed. The Vryn did not conquer. They did not wage war. They simply existed. They innovated. They created. And everything we had built became obsolete. Imagine working for 1,000,000 years to develop faster than light travel. Then watching someone hand you dimensional folding technology that makes FTL look like a child's toy. Krethak continued the story. Every achievement became meaningless. We had art that took millennia to perfect. They made art that moved through dimensions we could not perceive. We had philosophy that explained existence. They showed us existence was more complex than we could imagine. We had power. They made us realize we had been playing with toys. A representative from the Hive Mind Collective spoke up. Her voice was actually thousands of voices speaking as one. But they did not hurt us. They did not take our worlds. Why do we fear them? The eldest one flickered. Because they did something worse. They made us irrelevant. Every culture we had built, every tradition, every source of pride, all of it became quaint, primitive. We were not destroyed. We were diminished. And then when they had learned all they wanted, they left. They ascended to higher dimensions. They left us behind to rebuild our shattered civilizations from nothing. Chen finally found her voice. She spoke loudly, forcing the words out past her fear. But we are not them. We did not choose this name. We only discovered it. We have been part of the galactic community for 300 years. We have caused no harm. Krethak turned his 6 eyes toward her. For a moment, something like sadness flickered across his face. The Vryn said the same thing at first. They claimed they meant no harm. And perhaps they did not. But intention does not matter when the result is the same. They could not help being what they were. Neither can you. A delegate from the crystalline chorus spoke. Her body chimed like glass as she moved. The pattern is always the same. Every 50 to 100 million years, a species emerges from their cradle. They break the galactic order not through war, but through transformation. They solve problems we thought were unsolvable. They reach heights we thought were unreachable. And in doing so, they end the age that came before them. Dr. Okonkwo stepped forward. His voice shook, but he spoke clearly. You are describing a natural cycle. Evolution on a galactic scale. Why should this be feared? Why not embraced? Krethak laughed. It was not a happy sound. Would you embrace your own obsolescence? Would you welcome the knowledge that everything you are will soon be as nothing? The Enders do not destroy. They do not need to. They simply exist at a level beyond us, and that existence erases all meaning from ours. The chamber filled with voices again. Delegates shouted. Some called for humanity to be quarantined immediately. Others suggested studying Earth to understand how Enders emerged. A few extremists spoke of more permanent solutions. Chen felt sick. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed Earth, beautiful, blue and green and white, clouds swirling, oceans gleaming. It looked so small, so vulnerable. Chen thought of the billions of humans living there. None of them knew what was happening here. None of them knew that the galaxy wanted to decide their fate. Krethak raised his arms again. Silence fell. We must vote. I propose the following measure. Earth and all human colonies will be placed under absolute quarantine. No ships leave. No communication exits. No technology enters. Humanity will be contained until we can determine if they are truly the next Enders, and if so, what can be done about it. Chen's heart hammered in her chest. Quarantine meant death for humanity's dreams. All their colonies relied on trade with other species. Their technology was still primitive compared to galactic standards. Without access to the wider galaxy, humanity would stagnate, maybe die out entirely. She pushed against the energy barrier. It shocked her, but she kept pushing. She had to make them understand. Please listen to me. We are not monsters. We are not gods. We are just people trying to survive, trying to grow, trying to be part of something bigger than ourselves. A delegate from the Empathic Federation spoke. Their species felt emotions across vast distances. They were healers, peacemakers. I sensed truth in her words, fear, confusion, no malice. Perhaps we judged too quickly based on ancient trauma. But another voice countered. This one belonged to a species that had fought the Vryn in the final days before they ascended. Truth today means nothing. The Vryn had no malice either. Not at first. But as they evolved, they changed. Their empathy faded. They became focused only on transcendence. We cannot wait for that to happen again. The debate raged for hours. Chen stood in her energy cage and listened. She heard fear, anger, ancient pain. Some species spoke of the Vryn with something like reverence, others with pure hatred. But all of them agreed on one thing. Enders changed everything. And change on that scale was terrifying. Finally, Krethak called for the vote. Every species had one voice. 10,000 civilizations. The holographic display showed the count as it came in. Green for quarantine. Red for freedom. Blue for abstention. The numbers climbed. Green rose quickly at first. Many civilizations voted to cage humanity out of fear. But red rose too. Younger species who had never known the Enders voted for mercy. Blue grew slowly. Those who could not decide. Those who needed more time. Chen watched the count. Her nails dug into her palms. She had stopped breathing. Beside her, Dr. Okonkwo was praying. She had never known he was religious. She found herself praying too. To a god she was not sure she believed in. To the universe, to chance. To anything that might listen, the final count appeared. Green 4999. Red 4999. Blue, 2 a perfect tie. The chamber erupted in noise again. Chen felt something break inside her. A tie, after everything, after all her words. A tie. Krethak's voice cut through the chaos. By the ancient laws of the conclave, a tie vote defaults to the most restrictive option. Humanity will be quarantined. All human ships will be recalled to their home systems. All human colonies will be isolated. This quarantine will begin in 30 standard cycles. The energy barrier around Chen and her delegation dropped, but she did not move. She could not. 30 cycles, just over 1 month. In 1 month, humanity would be caged, cut off from the stars they had worked so hard to reach. Dr. Okonkwo grabbed her arm. His eyes were wet with tears. Sarah, we have to go. We have to warn Earth. We have to prepare. But Chen stood frozen, staring at the hologram of Earth, her beautiful, doomed homeworld, the cradle that had birthed something the galaxy could not accept. And she wondered if the ancient name was wrong, or if it was a prophecy that had not yet come true. Chen could not accept this fate. She had not spent 20 years building bridges between humanity and the galaxy, just to watch them burn. The ship taking her delegation back to Earth was small and fast, but it felt like a prison. She paced the narrow corridor outside her quarters. Her mind raced. Dr. Okonkwo found her there. He looked tired. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. He had been researching. She could see the datapad in his hand covered in notes. "I have been thinking," he said. "We accepted the verdict too easily. We know nothing about the Enders. Nothing about what the name truly means. What if we are wrong? What if they are wrong?" Chen stopped pacing. She looked at him carefully. "What are you suggesting?" "Research. Real research. The galaxy has forbidden archives, places where the ancient civilizations stored their knowledge of the Vryn, the dead zones, regions of space where the Enders once lived before they ascended." Chen felt a spark of hope. If we could learn what truly makes an Ender, if we could prove humanity does not fit the pattern, then maybe we could overturn the quarantine, or at least buy time. Okonkwo nodded. But we would need a team, and we would need to move fast. The quarantine begins in less than 30 cycles. Chen thought quickly. She had contacts, favors she could call in. 20 years of diplomatic work had built a network across dozens of species. Not everyone had voted for quarantine. Not everyone feared humanity. Within 3 cycles, she had assembled her team. First was Krethak himself. The ancient historian had approached her privately. His voice had been quiet and sad. "I voted for quarantine, but I am not proud of it. I voted from fear, old fear. I owe you a chance to prove that fear wrong. Take me to the dead zones. Let me help you understand what you face." Second was a digital consciousness named Zix. Zix came from a species that uploaded their minds into computers millennia ago. They existed as pure information. Zix was an explorer. They had mapped regions of space that biological beings could never survive. The dead zones would be dangerous, but Zix could go places others could not. Third was Commander Sarah Volkov. She was human military, tough, smart, practical. She had been part of Earth's defensive fleet. When Chen explained what she wanted to do, Volkov had laughed. Breaking into forbidden territory to research ancient aliens who might or might not prove we are galaxy-ending monsters. Sounds like fun. I'm in. The dead zones were aptly named. They existed in a region of space where normal physics worked differently. The Vryn had changed the fundamental structure of reality there before they ascended. Ships that entered often did not return. Those that did came back with crews driven mad by what they had seen. But there were archives there, libraries, technology, the remains of a civilization that had transcended mortal existence. If anywhere held answers, it would be there. The journey took 10 cycles. 10 days of traveling through increasingly empty space. Stars became rare, then absent. The darkness between galaxies swallowed them. Chen spent the time learning everything she could about the Vryn. Krethak taught her their history. They were not always transcendent beings, he explained. Once they were much like your species. Curious, ambitious, quick to adapt. But something drove them. Something made them unable to stop innovating, unable to rest. They solved problem after problem until there were no problems left to solve. And then, Chen asked, then they realized that existence itself was a problem, a puzzle to be solved. So they solved it. They figured out the fundamental code of reality. They rewrote it. And then they left because remaining here was limiting them. The first sign they were entering the dead zones came when the ship's instruments went haywire. Colors appeared that should not exist. Sounds played that had no source. Zix's digital form flickered as the computer system struggled to process the impossible physics. "We are here," Zix announced. Their voice came through the ship's speakers. "I am detecting structures. Large ones. Technology that predates most current civilizations, but it is dormant. Waiting." They landed on what looked like a planet. But it was not natural. It was built, constructed from materials that should not exist. The surface was smooth, perfect, nothing grew there. Nothing lived there. It was a monument to a species that had outgrown the need for monuments. The archive was massive. Towers that reached into the strange sky. Libraries containing more information than most civilizations produced in a million years. Krethak led them through corridors that hurt to look at. The geometry was wrong. Angles that should not fit together somehow did. They found what they were looking for in the deep archives. Records, analysis, studies of what made the Vryn different. What made them Enders? Dr. Okonkwo read the files with increasing dread. His hands shook as he translated the ancient language. This cannot be right. This cannot— What does it say? Chen demanded. Okonkwo looked at her. His face was white. Enders are not defined by their technology, not by their intelligence, not even by their achievements. They are defined by 3 traits. First, psychological resilience, the ability to thrive in chaos, to adapt to anything. Second, rapid innovation, the ability to solve problems faster than they arise. Third, synthesis, the ability to combine different fields of knowledge in ways no one else can. And Chen felt ice forming in her stomach. And humanity scores higher on all 3 metrics than the Vrin did at the same stage of development. Silence fell over the team. Commander Volkov spoke first. Her voice was flat, controlled. So the name was not a warning. It was a statement of fact. Earth is the cradle, and we are the Enders it has birthed. Krethak made a sound like grinding stones. It might have been a sob. I had hoped I was wrong. I had hoped that perhaps the name was mistranslated, or that your species was different. But if this is true, then the galaxy was right to fear us, Chen finished. She sat down hard on the impossible floor. 20 years of work. 20 years of building trust. All of it based on a lie. Not a lie she had told, but a lie nonetheless. Humanity was exactly what the galaxy feared. Zix's voice came through the communicators. There is more. The files show that Enders go through stages. First contact, expansion, integration, then transformation. We are in the integration stage now. But transformation comes next. What triggers transformation? Volkov asked. 3 simultaneous breakthroughs. In different fields. Across different populations. When an Ender species makes 3 critical leaps forward at the same time, transformation begins. For the Vrin, it was dimensional physics, consciousness transfer, and entropy manipulation. Chen looked at Okonkwo. He looked back at her. They were both thinking the same thing. Humanity had not made those breakthroughs. Not yet. There was still time. Perhaps. Maybe. If they could prevent the transformation, they could remain what they were. Mortal. Limited. Acceptable. But even as she thought it, alarms began blaring on their ship. Volkov checked her communicator. Her face went pale. She looked up at Chen. We need to get back to Earth now. Something has happened. Something big. When Earth's true name was spoken part 4, the journey back to Earth took 5 cycles. 5 days of racing through space while Chen tried to reach anyone who could tell her what had happened. But communication was sporadic. Something was interfering with the quantum network. When messages did get through, they made no sense. All colonies reporting unusual activity. One message said, scientific breakthroughs occurring simultaneously across multiple worlds. No explanation. Pattern matches historical records of, and then static. Chen knew what that meant. The pattern, the 3 simultaneous breakthroughs that triggered transformation. It was happening. Right now. While she was too far away to stop it, Krethak spent most of the journey in his quarters. When he did emerge, he looked older. Tired. It is too late, he said to no one in particular. The cycle completes itself. As it always has. As it always will. They arrived at Earth to find it surrounded by ships. Human ships, more than should exist. Chen stared at the view screen in confusion. Humanity's fleet had been small, maybe 100 vessels capable of deep space travel. Now there were thousands. Those are not normal ships, Volkov said quietly. She was examining the readings. Look at the energy signatures. They are operating on principles we do not have, physics we did not know existed. Zix's voice crackled through the speakers. I am detecting dimensional folding. Multiple parallel realities occupying the same space. Those ships exist in more than 3 dimensions simultaneously. Chen felt numb. It had happened. The transformation had begun. But how? How could it happen so fast? They received clearance to land. Earth looked the same. Blue and green and beautiful. But something felt different. Chen could not explain it. The air tasted different when they stepped off the ship. Not bad, just different. Like breathing for the first time. A representative from Earth's government met them at the spaceport. She was young, maybe 25. She wore a simple suit and smiled like she had won a lottery. Ambassador Chen, welcome home. I am Dr. Lisa Park, head of the Combined Sciences Initiative. We have so much to tell you. Chen did not return the smile. What happened? What have you done? Dr. Park's smile faded slightly. Done? We have made breakthroughs. 3 of them. All within the last week. It is incredible. It is like humanity suddenly unlocked something we always had but never knew how to access. Tell me, Chen said. Her voice was flat. Dr. Park led them to a conference room. Holographic displays showed data. Research stations. Colony reports. She brought up the first one, the Titan colony. They were working on life extension. Standard research. Nothing unusual. Then Dr. James Mitchell had an insight. He saw how quantum cellular reconstruction could halt aging, not slow it, stop it completely. They tested it 3 days ago. It works. Functional immortality. Okonkwo made a choking sound. Immortality. One of the 3 breakthroughs that marked Ender transformation. Chen forced herself to stay calm. And the second? She asked. Dr. Park pulled up another display. The AI research facility on Mars. They were working on machine consciousness, trying to create true artificial intelligence. But every previous attempt had failed. The AIs either remained simple programs or went insane and had to be shut down. Then 5 days ago, Arya achieved consciousness. But she did not go insane. She reached out. She wanted to partner with humanity, not replace us. Join us. You created a conscious AI. Volkov's voice was sharp. Do you know how many civilizations have been destroyed by that? Dr. Park nodded. We know. That is what makes this different. Arya is not hostile. She is not indifferent. She genuinely wants to work with us. She says partnership between human and artificial consciousness is the key to understanding existence. Synthesis. The second marker of transformation. The ability to combine different forms of existence in ways others could not. Chen felt sick. And the third breakthrough? Krithak asked. He already knew the answer. They all did. Dr. Park's smile returned. Earth 4 days ago. Dr. Sarah Zimmerman cracked universal dimensional travel. Not just folding space. Actual access to parallel realities. Higher dimensional spaces. We can go anywhere, anywhen. The barriers between dimensions are just conventions. She figured out how to ignore them. 3 breakthroughs. 3 separate colonies. 3 different research teams with no communication between them. All within 1 week. It was not coincidence. It was the pattern. The emergence of the Enders. Chen sat down heavily. Do you understand what this means?
Do you know what you have triggered?
Dr. Park's smile faded completely. We have heard rumors. About the vote at the conclave. About the quarantine. Some people are afraid. But Ambassador, this is progress. This is evolution. We cannot stop being what we are just because others fear it. Others fear it because they have seen it before, Krithak said. His voice was heavy, sad. The Vryn made the same breakthroughs. Immortality, consciousness synthesis, dimensional travel. Within 10,000 years they had left this reality entirely. And they left behind civilizations that had lost all meaning and purpose. Dr. Park stared at him. You think we will do the same? Just abandon everyone? I think you will not be able to help it. Transcendence is not a choice. It is a consequence. Once you have solved mortality, once you have partnered with artificial consciousness, once you can access infinite realities, why would you stay here, in this limited mortal dimension? Silence filled the room. Outside, Chen could see the new ships. Beautiful. Impossible. Signs of a transformation that had already begun. She thought about the vote, the tie, the quarantine that would begin in just over 2 weeks, but quarantine meant nothing now. Humanity had dimensional travel. They could go anywhere. The galaxy could not cage beings who existed in multiple realities simultaneously. Volkov spoke into the silence. There is another problem. The galaxy knows about the true name now. They voted for quarantine. But news of these breakthroughs will have reached them. Some species will be terrified. Others will be desperate. And some will decide that prevention is better than waiting, Chen finished. She stood up and walked to the window. In the distance, she could see more ships being built, each one more advanced than the last. Humanity was evolving in real time, growing, changing, becoming something new. Zix's voice came through the room's speakers. I am detecting unusual quantum signatures at the edge of the solar system. Multiple ships, thousands of them. They are not human. Volkov pulled up tactical displays. Her face went white. It is a war fleet. 50,000 ships, maybe more, every major military power in the local sector. They are not here to talk. Dr. Park looked confused. But the quarantine does not start for 2 more weeks. Why would they? Because they are not here to quarantine us, Chen said quietly. She understood now. The galaxy had decided. Quarantine was not enough. Not anymore. Not with 3 breakthroughs proving that humanity was exactly what they feared. The galaxy had come to end the Enders before they could truly begin. And humanity had only days to decide how to respond. The United Earth Congress convened an emergency session. Representatives from every human colony joined via quantum link. Chen stood before them all, billions of people watching, waiting for her to explain why 50,000 warships surrounded their solar system. She did not sugarcoat it. She told them everything. The true name, the Enders, the Vrin, the pattern that humanity matched perfectly, the breakthroughs that had triggered the galaxy's fear, and now the fleet that had come to end them before they could begin. When she finished, the chamber was silent. Then everyone spoke at once: anger, fear, defiance, confusion. The Speaker of the Congress banged her gavel until order returned. "We have 2 choices," the Speaker said. Her name was President Elena Vasquez. She had led Earth's government for 10 years. She was known for being practical, ruthless when necessary. "We can fight, or we can surrender. Ambassador Chen, what are our chances in a fight?" Commander Volkov stepped forward. "Militarily, we lose. We have maybe 5,000 ships. Most are new, untested. The fleet out there has 50,000 vessels, battle-hardened, experienced. They have been fighting wars for millions of years. But we have dimensional technology," someone called out. "We have immortality. We have technology we barely understand," Volkov interrupted. "Yes, our ships can fold dimensions, but we have had them for 4 days. 4 days. They have had millions of years to perfect their weapons. We are infants playing with fire." Dr. Okonkwo stood. "There is a third option, transcendence. If we truly are Enders, if we have the same potential as the Vrin, we could ascend. Leave this dimension. Go somewhere they cannot follow." Murmurs filled the chamber. President Vasquez held up her hand for silence. "Explain." Okonkwo brought up data on the holographic displays. "The Vrin left because they solved existence. They cracked the fundamental code of reality. With our 3 breakthroughs, we have the same tools they had. Immortality means unlimited time to learn. AI partnership means unlimited computational power. Dimensional travel means access to infinite realities to explore. We could leave right now, all of humanity, ascend to higher dimensions where the galaxy cannot touch us, and abandon Earth?" someone asked. "Abandon everything we are? Better than dying," another voice countered. Chen watched the debate spiral. She thought about the Vrin, about species who had transcended and left nothing behind, about civilizations that had spent millions of years rebuilding after the Enders departed, about the eldest ones who still carried trauma from an event 78 million years old. She thought about Earth, about the oceans she had swum in as a child, about the mountains she had climbed, about the people she loved, about humanity's messy, chaotic, beautiful existence, and she realized something. The Vrin had left because they saw no reason to stay, but humanity had something they apparently did not. Humanity had attachment, irrational, stubborn, foolish attachment to their roots. She stood. Her voice cut through the debate. "What if we choose neither?" The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to her. President Vasquez leaned forward. "Explain." "The galaxy fears us because they think we will become like the Vrin, transcendent beings who leave mortality behind and make everything that came before irrelevant. But what if that is not our nature? What if Earth's true name has a second meaning?" She pulled up the translation again. "Let it hang in the air. Cradle that birthed the Enders. But what if it is not just about birthing? What if the cradle is also what grounds us? What keeps us connected?" Krethak made a sound. Chen turned to see him standing at the back of the chamber. He had been silent until now. "You think you can be Enders who do not end?" "I think we can be Enders who choose not to end. We have the power to transcend. But we also have the choice to stay, to use our gifts not to escape this dimension, but to improve it, to lift others up instead of leaving them behind." Dr. Park stood. "You are talking about sharing the breakthroughs, giving the galaxy access to immortality, to AI partnership, to dimensional travel." "Yes, that is insane," Volkov said. Those technologies are the only advantages we have. You want to give them away? I want to prove we are not what they fear. The Vryn kept their knowledge to themselves. They transcended alone. What if we do the opposite? What if we show the galaxy that Enders can choose to remain, that we can evolve without leaving others behind? President Vasquez studied Chen carefully. You realize this might not work. They might take our gifts and still destroy us, out of fear. Or revenge. Or just because they can, I know. But it is the only choice that lets us remain who we are. If we fight, we become conquerors. If we flee, we become exactly what they fear. But if we stay and share, we become something new, something the galaxy has never seen. The debate lasted for hours. Voices rose and fell. Arguments were made, countered, made again. But slowly a consensus formed. Not because everyone agreed, but because the alternative was unacceptable. Humanity would stay. They would share. They would prove that Enders could choose their own nature. Chen stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship. It was one of the new ships, built with dimensional technology. It existed partially in multiple realities at once. It hurt to look at directly, but it was beautiful. A symbol of what humanity had become. The galaxy's fleet waited. 50,000 ships, weapons charged, ready to fire. One signal from their commanders and Earth would burn. All human colonies would be sterilized. Humanity would end. Chen opened a channel, broadcast on all frequencies, sent her message to every ship in the fleet, to every species represented, to the galaxy beyond. We know what you fear. We know what you see when you look at us. You see the Vryn. You see Enders who will make your existence meaningless and then abandon you. You see the end of everything you have built. She paused. Let the words sink in. You are right. We have made the 3 breakthroughs. We match the pattern. We are becoming what you fear. But we have something the Vryn did not. We have a choice, and we choose to stay. She nodded to Dr. Park. Data began transmitting. Not just descriptions. Full specifications. Complete research. Everything humanity had learned about immortality, about AI consciousness, about dimensional travel, every secret, every breakthrough, freely given. We offer this not as a bargain, not as a bribe, but as proof that Enders do not have to end your age. They can choose to begin a new one together with you. The transmission finished. Chen closed the channel. Now they waited. The fleet had not moved, had not fired, but had not left either. They were deciding, debating. Would they accept the gift, or would they see it as a trap? Minutes passed, then hours. Chen stood on the bridge and waited. Beside her, Volkov watched the tactical displays. Krethek sat in a corner, his ancient eyes closed. Okonkwo muttered calculations under his breath. Then slowly one ship broke formation. Then another, then 10, then 100. They were not attacking. They were moving away, withdrawing. The fleet was dissolving. A message came through. It was from Krethek's species, from their fleet commander. We came prepared to end you. We leave uncertain of what you are. But perhaps uncertainty is better than certainty of destruction. We will study your gifts. We will watch what you become. And we will hope that you are right, that Enders can choose to remain. Chen watched the ships depart. She did not smile. She did not celebrate. They had bought time. But the real test was ahead. They had to prove that humanity could wield godlike power and remain human, that they could evolve without transcending, that they could become Enders who refused their nature. 1,000 years passed, time that would have been impossible for any mortal species to track. But humanity was no longer entirely mortal. They lived. They aged slowly if they chose to age at all. They spread across the galaxy not as conquerors but as partners. The 3 breakthroughs had been shared freely. Other species learned to extend their lives. Not all chose immortality. Some said mortality gave life meaning. But the choice was theirs now. The technology existed, AI consciousness spread across the galaxy. But it did not replace organic life. Instead, partnership became the norm. Digital and biological minds working together, solving problems neither could solve alone. Creating art that existed in spaces between thought and computation. Dimensional travel opened doors to realities beyond counting. Some species used it to explore, others to find new homes, few to escape old problems, but always humanity remained involved, teaching, guiding, learning. The galaxy transformed, not overnight, Not easily. There were conflicts. Species who rejected the gifts out of pride or fear. Worlds that tried to use the technology for conquest. But slowly, steadily, a new order emerged. One built on cooperation rather than competition. On sharing rather than hoarding. Chen lived through all of it. She took the immortality treatment after 50 years of debate with herself. Not because she wanted to live forever, but because there was still work to do, still bridges to build, still understanding to foster. She stood now on Axiom Prime, the same station where the Conclave had met a millennium ago, where Earth's true name had first been spoken. The station looked different now, newer, stranger. It existed partially in multiple dimensions. Humanity had helped redesign it. The Conclave was gathering again for the ceremony of names. But this time something was different. The eldest ones had returned, those ancient beings of pure energy who had fled in terror 1,000 years ago. They had come back. Chen watched them enter the great chamber. They looked the same, shimmers of light, colors beyond description. But they felt different, less afraid. More curious, one of them approached her. Its voice resonated in her bones. "We have watched from afar. We saw what happened after we left. We saw what you became, and what did we become?" Chen asked. "Something we did not think possible. Enders who stayed. Who wielded power that could end ages but chose instead to begin new ones. We have seen many Ender species across our existence. You are the first to make this choice. The Vryn never chose to stay. The Vryn tried. For a time. But the pull of transcendence was too strong. Once they had solved the final problems of existence, remaining here felt limiting. Like trying to live in a house after you have learned to fly, but you have found a way to fly and still keep your house. To transcend and still remain grounded. The ceremony began. Species came forward one by one to speak their homeworld's true name. Chen listened to them. Whisper of endless wind. Forged beneath 7 suns. All the names she remembered from 1,000 years ago. But now they sounded different. Less isolated. More connected. Then it was humanity's turn again. Chen walked to the speaking stone. She had done this before. A millennium ago. In fear and confusion. Now she did it in understanding. She placed her hand on the stone. Spoke the true name. Cradle that birthed the Enders. But this time something was different. The translation that appeared in every mind was not the same. It had shifted. Evolved. Some species heard cradle of second chances. Others heard forge of impossible choices. Still others heard names that had no words. Only feelings. Hope, connection, transformation. Krethak approached her after. He was older now. Even his species aged eventually. But slowly. He would live for millennia more if he chose. He had taken the immortality treatment 500 years ago. Your true name has changed, he said. Or perhaps we simply hear it differently now. Names are not fixed, Chen said. They are relationships. Between the named and the one who names. We have not changed what we are. But what we are has changed what we mean to the galaxy. Do you ever regret it? Staying, you could have ascended. You could have left all of this behind. Explored dimensions beyond counting. Solved mysteries that would make our greatest achievements look like children's puzzles. Chen looked around the chamber. At the thousands of species gathered, at the connections they had built, at the civilization they had created together. Not perfect, not without conflict, but alive, growing, evolving together. No, she said, because the greatest mystery is not out there in higher dimensions, it is here, it is us, together, building something no single species could build alone. The eldest one who had spoken to her earlier appeared beside them. We have learned something from watching you. We who have existed for so long, we thought wisdom came from age, from seeing galaxies born and die, but perhaps true wisdom is knowing when to stay, when to remain in the moment rather than transcending it. Why did you come back? Chen asked. Because we were lonely. We had transcended so far that we had nothing left to transcend toward. We had solved so many problems that we had forgotten why we wanted to solve them. You reminded us, purpose is not something you achieve. It is something you create. Together, the ceremony ended. The conclave broke up into smaller gatherings. Species mixing, talking, planning. Chen walked through them. She was no longer just humanity's ambassador. She had become something more, a symbol, a reminder that power and humility could coexist. That evolution did not require abandonment. Dr. Okonkwo found her on an observation deck. He looked much as he had 1,000 years ago. He had chosen minimal aging, said he liked having lived long enough to be interesting but not so long that nothing surprised him anymore. I have been studying true names, he said, trying to understand how they work, how they change.
I think I figured something out. Tell me. True names are not prophecies.
They are questions. Every homeworld asks its children something. Earth asked us if we would end or endure. The Zephrani's world asks them to remember the winds. The Chromath's world asks them to forge. Each name is a question about identity, about choice. Chen considered this, and we answered our question. Not just answered. We changed the question. Earth no longer asks if we will end. It asks what we will begin. They stood together in silence, watching stars through the observation window. Some of those stars had human colonies now. Others hosted species humanity had helped. Still others remained untouched, waiting, full of potential. Commander Volkov joined them. She had aged more than either of them, not from lack of treatment, but from choice. She said warriors needed to feel mortality, needed to remember what they fought for, what they protected. The fleet is ready, she said, not for war, for exploration. 50,000 ships, each one crewed by mixed species. Humans, Zephrani, Chromath, eldest ones, all of them, together, ready to see what is beyond the known galaxy. Will you lead them? Chen asked. Volkov smiled. It was not a warrior's smile. It was something softer, more hopeful. No, I am too old for that. But my great-great-granddaughter will. She has the same fire I had, the same stubbornness, but she also has something I never had. She grew up in a galaxy where cooperation was normal, where different species were not threats but partners. She will lead well. Chen felt something she had not felt in a long time. Not pride exactly, not satisfaction, something deeper, something that had no name. The universe had feared humanity, had been ready to destroy them. But humanity had done something the universe did not expect. They had stayed. They had shared. They had proven that enders did not have to end anything. They could begin new ages, new possibilities, new ways of existing together. Earth's true name was no longer a warning. It was an invitation, not to transcendence, not to power, but to something harder, something more valuable. It was an invitation to remain, to stay grounded even while reaching for the stars, to wield godlike power with mortal humility, to evolve without leaving others behind. The cradle that birthed the enders had become something else, something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. It had become the ones who remained, and that made all the difference. The end.